Excellent. Well, hello, my name is Stash Grzinski. I am the political director with the Wisconsin League of Conservation Voters. First, I want to thank everybody for coming today on such a snowy day that we have outside, and thank the concerned citizens and the media for being here. This is an important issue, and that's why we're here. Access to clean drinking water and effective sewer systems is a fundamental right for citizens. That's why we've gathered today with citizens, elected officials, and conservation leaders to raise awareness about AB 554. AB 554 is a disastrous proposal in the state legislature that would take away public accountability and also for managing these critical services and allow communities to sell off their water rights to private out-of-state companies. These are some of the most critical and fundamental things we can protect: clean, safe drinking water and the management of these utilities. And that's why we need to require the transparency and accountability that comes with local control. Government has a level of accountability for citizens that frankly companies do not have. All we have to do is look to our neighboring state of Michigan and the situation in Flint to see why AB 554 is a terrible idea. Less public scrutiny and accountability would only exacerbate that problem. As a result, AB 554, Wisconsin citizens could be left paying higher prices for water with declining levels of service as well. Here's one way to think about it. How many people have had a problem with their phone service where they've passed from faceless person to automated system on the line, only to have it take hours or even days to get their problem solved? Now imagine that you have brown water coming out of your tap at home. Your family starts to get sick, and you attempt to have that same level of service from some of these out-of-state companies with no accountability to you or the voters in the community. We've also seen a rollback from the 2011 state legislature where local municipalities no longer have to disinfect their drinking water. Currently 60 municipalities on that list. Privatizing our water would be another step in the downward spiral towards unsafe drinking water in Wisconsin. Wisconsin should be investing in these public systems, not weakening protections and selling our water to the lowest bidder. Next, we'll hear from Senator Dave Hansen, a 2013-2014 Wisconsin League of Conservation Voters conservation champion, about AB 554. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Stash, and thank everybody in the crowd for joining us in the media as well. It is truly a critical situation for our state and a huge issue. And again, thanks for coming. I'm Senator Dave Hansen. I'm joined here today by local residents and representatives of the Sierra Club, League of Conservation Voters, and others to warn the public about a very serious attempt by an out-of-state corporation to hijack our public water supplies. And just over 2 months ago, Assembly Bill 554, and it does have a companion, sadly, Senate Bill 432, were introduced to make it easier for corporations to take control of our local water utilities. These bills were not introduced in response to any request from any local government here in Wisconsin. No one here asked for these bills. No one here said there is a problem with the local water utilities. No one here said it would be a great idea to make it easier for politicians to sell our water to out-of-state corporations and campaign donors. No, these bills were introduced at the request of Aqua America, a Pennsylvania corporation that makes its money by taking over local public water utilities and then squeezing every dime of profit it can from ratepayers and water users by jacking up their rates and cutting corners and quality. Aqua's CEO, Nicholas De Benedictis, rakes in more than $4 million a year in compensation. As the residents and communities where Aqua takes over their water soon find out, Aqua and corporations like them are not responsible to the people they serve. They are not accountable to them. They make their profits by cutting staff, by cutting corners, and raising rates, knowing full well that the customers have nowhere else to turn to get their water. According to Food and Water Watch, in places where Aqua took over local water utilities, users saw their rates go up from $153 to $707, an increase of nearly 400%. And what did they get in return? In many cases, the water quality was so bad, residents were told to boil it. Customers in Florida complained Aqua's water was smelly, discolored, contaminated, and undrinkable. The violations of state and federal codes and standards are way too many to count. This is not the future we want for ourselves, for our children, or our grandchildren. No one in this state wants to trust our most sacred, and it's been mentioned a lot already, and valued natural resource to an out-of-state corporation that is more interested in increasing its profits than it is on protecting our water and our families. Few things are more sacred in our state than our water. It is the lifeblood of our families, our communities, and our economy. These bills today betray that sacred trust to help an out-of-state corporation, for the record with a terrible track record and no ties to Wisconsin at all, and line its shareholder profits at the expense of the health, safety, and well-being of Wisconsin residents for years to come. It got so bad in Fort Wayne, they decided to go back into that business, but it cost them $67 million to do the water themselves because the water had become that bad in that community. And those stories are all over the country. Aqua America's in 8 states now, and in many of those states, they've had nothing but problems and lack of quality in water. Everyone in this state should watch this issue very closely and hold every state representative and state senator accountable for how they vote. The last thing to happen now, we will have a full floor Senate vote on this issue, I believe next week. And we're in a minority 19-14. We have to have 3 Republican senators say, this is bad for the state, this is bad for our families, and this is bad for the quality of life in Wisconsin. Because if this is allowed to go through, the politicians who vote for this change will be remembered for having violated one of the most sacred bonds we have in this state, our centuries-old promise to protect the public's water for all to enjoy for generations to come. Thank you.
Next, we'll have Will Stahl, representative of the Fox Valley Sierra Club, speak.
Good afternoon. I'm Will Stahl, represent Fox Valley Sierra Group, and also Conservation Chair for the John Muir chapter, the state level of the Sierra Club. Senator Hansen, thank you for the opportunity to add the voice of the Sierra Club to the many raising objections to this latest attack on local control. In a few short years, Wisconsin's long, proud history of government for the common good has been upended and tossed aside. This bill to allow, indeed encourage, privatization of public water utilities is only the latest example. The bill would weaken or eliminate the requirement that the sale of public utilities be put to referendum, yet again interfering with communities' ability to manage their own affairs. It has been introduced on behalf of an out-of-state corporation that controls water systems in several other states. Privatization of public water systems has proven problematic in many places where it has been tried, resulting in higher rates for household users and poorer quality. The corporation proposing this bill has had many complaints of excessive rate increases, violations of clean water laws, and being unaccountable to water users and taxpayers. They claim that their control of many water utilities means they can bring in economies of scale similar to those of large electric and gas utilities, but this does not benefit the communities they serve. Proponents of privatization always claim it will save money and take the burden of maintaining utility infrastructure off the taxpayer. In practice, it usually leads to greater expense, as the corporation not only has to provide the expected service, but make a profit as well. The corporation sees its responsibility as being to the owners or stockholders, not to the citizens to whom they are providing a basic need. Therefore, they have real incentive to cut costs in ways that may be detrimental to the community in the long term. The example of Flint, Michigan shows what can happen when expense is the only consideration of providing water to a community. This bill will open the way to the possibility of problems with the health and financial well-being of our citizens and communities. We at Sierra Club urge the citizens of Wisconsin to oppose it.
Next, we'll have a concerned citizen and mother, Lindsay Dorff.
My name is Lindsay Dorff. I'm a small business owner in Green Bay and a lifelong resident of Wisconsin. Most importantly, I am a mother to 2 boys ages 1 and 3. Today, I urge our elected officials to vote no on the proposed legislation that would undermine local public control of our water utilities. Publicly owned and operated water utilities offer residents the most direct voice in water quality and affordability. When water utilities are publicly owned, elected officials can be held accountable through the election process for water safety and prices. Also, our elected officials are neighbors who personally depend on our public water utilities. Our mayor and aldermen use the water. Their families and friends, their children, drink our local water. Our local representatives are invested in prioritizing the health of our residents and natural resources over profits. And if they do get their priorities wrong, we can hold them accountable at the voting booth. This is not the case for an out-of-state corporation like Aqua America, based in Pennsylvania, who initiated this legislation through lobbyists. Aqua America's first priority is maximizing profits for its shareholders. Keeping water safe and affordable and protecting the natural resources of Wisconsin is secondary. Ultimately, it is the question of water safety that lies heaviest with me as a mother. We are all horrified by the recent news stories about the water in Flint, Michigan. Let's be clear, Flint's water problems were not caused by a private company. However, Flint's water problems were caused by appointed personnel who replaced publicly elected officials. They could not be held accountable by the election process, and they chose to prioritize financial savings over water safety. As a result, between 6,000 and 12,000 children in Flint have documented lead poisoning, and many thousands more have been exposed to lead, which is a potent neurotoxin. This tragedy, which developed when elected officials lost control of their water utilities, must not be repeated here in Wisconsin. Local control of water is imperative to maintaining water safety. Please vote no to this bill. The people of Wisconsin are fed up with corporations and lobbyists determining important legislation. Water affects every part of our lives. It affects our environment, our finances, our health, and the health of our children, whose bodies and brains are still developing. The stakes are far too high to hand over control to out-of-state corporations whose first obligation is monetary profit. Thank you.
And finally, we'll have Dean Hoger, the Executive Director of Clean Water Action Council.
Thank you, Stash. At Clean Water Action Council, we want you to realize that our drinking water is too important to allow corporate special interests to fast-track this water privatization bill. Question is, do you want a private company or even a multinational corporation to take control of your water, where profit for shareholders is its #1 priority? I know I don't. The bill has already passed the Assembly, and it may go to the Senate for a vote soon. It's not too late to act. Contact your state senator today. Every single senator who votes for this bill should be shaking in his or her boots about the public's outcry if this bill is passed. Ask Senator Frank Lasay and Senator Frank Coles where they stand on this bill. You need to tell them to vote against it, just as Senator Hansen has vowed to do. Thank you.
Finally, in closing, I also just wanted to thank once again everyone for coming, the media that participated with us today, and really echo Senator Hansen's remarks about this bill coming up in the Senate. We have the ability to contact our state legislators in the Senate and let them know that this is a bad idea. And we're asking everybody across Wisconsin to do that, to get on the phone, make a call, send a letter, write a letter to the editor, and let them know that we oppose AB 554. So once again, thank you very much for coming out today.